Have the New England Patriots free agency moves so far changed their draft strategy coming up? Stick around. You're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxboro faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Also, and hopefully your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is not only a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, but we are also free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to download and follow wherever you get your podcasts to ensure that you get the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike Debate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country. So reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots social media style, please be sure to follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And Pats fans, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And Pats fans, the new league year has begun. Your New England Patriots, along with all 31 NFL teams, making moves to help them improve their standing from 2023. And unfortunately, folks, your New England Patriots had a longer way to go than most. It was a forgettable season last year for the Pats. Now it's a new era under a new head coach, Gerard Mayo, potentially a new general manager in Elliott Wolf, though technically right now he's still director of scouting, and a lot of new faces on the field. And here today to help us break down the Patriots' moves so far and what it means for the team moving forward is our resident voice of reason, my good friend and Patriots paisan, columnist extraordinaire for PatsFans.com, as well as being the co-host of another amazing listen in Patriots Nation, Patriots 4th and 2, alongside Derek Havens. He is Steve Balestrieri. Steve, thanks for joining me here today. Welcome back to Locked On Patriots, buddy.
Oh, it's great to be back. Great to talk football with you, my friend. And yeah, as we say, there's never a boring day in Foxboro. There's still a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure they're burning up some phone lines, but I'm sure we're going to get into that too.
Oh, absolutely. The New England Patriots have burned up some phone lines, will continue to do so as they continue to make moves as they move into the 2024 NFL season beginning in just a couple of months. But we both know, Steve, the league year has begun. All the moves that were made during the legal tampering period becoming official. Your New England Patriots adding some outside free agents, but really mostly what they've been active in doing is retaining the core guys, as Elliott Wolf put it, going into this league year. And Gerard Mayo put it the same way. They had guys on this team that they knew they wanted to keep in-house and make sure that they were a part of the rebuild that this team is about to undertake as we move toward 2024. We'll start there, Steve. When you look at the moves that the New England Patriots have made, the positions of need, how they filled them or how they've maintained them, and what they seem to be doing moving forward in terms of positioning themselves to make these positions even better than they were, what would you grade the New England Patriots free agency haul thus far in 2024?
Well, I think to me, I kind of lumped it in two categories. One was the internal guys, the core guys that they had identified that they wanted to bring back. And I thought they did an outstanding job of that. I think the only guy that they really wanted back that they haven't been able to, re-sign was Mac Wilson. So their other internal free agents, they identified those guys, and guys like Josh Uche signed for far less than he was being offered, which tells me two things. One, that He's betting on himself, obviously. That he'll have a big year in 2024. And two, he wants to play for Gerard Mayo, which is, I think that's a great sign as well.
It is.
So, that part of free agency is, I thought they did an outstanding job on that. The second part is signing the outside guys to fill the holes on your roster. And that's pretty incomplete right now. I thought that the signing of, I think they call him Chuck Okorafor. I thought his was a really good signing because he provides that depth that they need at offensive tackle. And I love the signing of Gibson because, as you know, we've been harping about that third down back, the receiving back, that change of pace guy, that they really needed that, and they missed that, with the offense that they ran at the time. But I still think that's an important piece, moving forward. You got to have that guy. And I like the signing of Osborne. I think he's a solid player. He's not a great player, but he's a guy that will carve out a role for himself, and he's been productive. I know a lot of fans want that, quote unquote, number one X guy. And we know Osborne isn't that guy. But, there's still some guys out there in free agency, and there's obviously still the draft. But, that part of it, I think, is incomplete because they haven't got a quarterback yet. They haven't got a left tackle yet. And they haven't got that X wide receiver. But they did fill, they didn't have any tight ends signed. So, bringing back Hunter Henry, signing Austin Hooper, I think that was a good move. I could still see them adding a impact guy in the draft as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the tight end position. Claire and I talked about that yesterday here on Locked On Patriots. Claire Cooper joining me to talk tight ends, and we talked a little bit about Hunter Henry and about Austin Hooper and LaMichael Petway and how they probably will look to add another body in the draft. And we both kind of agreed that Tip Ryman out of Illinois would look pretty good. One name I didn't mention yesterday that one of our listeners, one of our everydayers mentioned, and it's a name I've mentioned here several times before, is TCU's Jared Wiley, who I think would actually look nice in a Patriots uniform as well. So I think they're well on their way in that position to being able to move forward and say, we've got the pieces in place. We just need to add one more. In terms of the recent additions that they've made, I know you mentioned Osborne, you mentioned Gibson. We had the opportunity to meet both Antonio and also meet KJ earlier this week via conference call with the New England media. And both of these guys came in different backgrounds, different positions, obviously, but very singular in terms of their focus, very singular in terms of what their intent is. And that's essentially to do whatever they need to do to help the team win. And I know that's a catchphrase. I know that a lot of players will say that coming in to endear themselves to the media, makes a nice soundbite. But these guys are as versatile as they come. KJ Osborne is someone that can win his battles in the slot. By his own admission, he said he was very comfortable in the middle playing. That's where he usually plays. But he's also someone that can win his battles on the perimeter as well. And we've seen him have big games. Going back to that big Vikings comeback against the Colts, 33-0 game a couple of years ago. He played a huge part in that comeback. So if you need him to make these plays in the clutch, he's someone that can do it and step up, and really a solid locker room guy, a solid leadership guy, very high character. And that's something that I think the Patriots are going to need this year if they're going to try to build some of that camaraderie back in the locker room that was lost last year. It was a fractured locker room in New England for a lot of different reasons, and they have to really, I think, rekindle some of that camaraderie in order to move forward. Antonio Gibson's another guy that said that he doesn't want to limit himself to just being a third down back. He wants to compete at a high level and really show that he's well-rounded and capable of handling all duties as a running back. Both of these guys are capable of handling duties in the return game as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these new versatile weapons that the Patriots have brought in are going to be able to assimilate into this offense. I don't think either one is necessarily a needle mover or someone that's going to vault this offense back into being one of the more reputable ones in the NFL. I still think they're a few players away from that. But solid role players do make a difference and can make an impact, folks. So I'm glad that you mentioned those guys as well. In terms of the biggest remaining needs on this team, I think we'll shelve that for just a moment, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit because I do want to come back to it. I think that actually may deserve its own segment, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that's one of our main topics, and we will get to that. But when it comes to the moves that the Patriots have made to continue to keep their talent in-house, we've talked a lot about the re-signing of Mike Onwenu, especially now with guys like Tyron Smith off the board, now going to the Jets, Jonah Williams going to the Arizona Cardinals, that left tackle well kind of drying up for the New England Patriots free agency-wise. When you look back on it now with a little retrospect, how big was it for the Patriots to maintain Onwenu and keep him in-house?
Oh, absolutely huge. I mean, otherwise they'd be looking for 2 tackles right now, and that would really put them behind the 8 ball, And I forget who wrote something this week. I want to give them credit for it because I read it and, it was kind of forgotten. But, when the Patriots signed Calvin Anderson last year, there was some hope that he would push Trent Brown for that starting left tackle position. And then he had an illness that was life-threatening. Then he had another one behind that. So it was kind of a lost season for him. And whoever, I'm trying to remember, but I would love to give him credit, but obviously I can't. They wrote, don't go to sleep on Calvin Anderson, because he's now healthy and he's looking to, kind of make people reaware that he's still on this team and, he might have something to prove this year. And that's a really good point because we can't, we kind of forgot about him, didn't we? Last year because he had the 2 illnesses. And from what I understand, Derek heard it from somebody who would know that the illnesses were not related. They were 2 different ones.
Yeah, and that is, it's definitely a scary situation. And obviously Calvin's health is the most important thing moving forward. If Calvin really himself is able to get that kind of assurance that his health is no longer going to be a concern moving forward, this is a very effective tackle in this league that came in, like you said, and I do remember that last year when the Patriots had signed him, there was hope that he would be able to either push Trent Brown for maybe a little bit of competition at that left tackle position or be the guy on the right side. Because if you remember correctly, and we all remember correctly, Mike Onwenu was not the first option at right tackle last year. A lot of people believed it would be Riley Reiff. That didn't work out because of injury, but Calvin Anderson was someone that was kind of coming in to be that guy that could step up and make spot starts if either one of those guys were incapable of doing it with Onwenu at the guard position. Now that Mike is entrenched at the right tackle position, it's going to be interesting to see if maybe Calvin can win that battle on the left. I think Chukwuma Okorafor is probably a guy that the Patriots will give a strong look to. Had a pretty good season last year in terms of being credited with allowing only 2 sacks, no quarterback hits, and 9 hurries in pass protection. Need to see a little bit more discipline. He was whistled for 8 penalties last year, so the Patriots would like to shore that up a little bit. But Okorafor, I think, is someone that could come in and be versatile. He's played most of his time on the right side, but he can switch over and play the left. He's done it in the past. So maybe this could be a good fit for the New England Patriots as well. And then, of course, there's the NFL draft to consider, Steve. The New England Patriots have a lot of deficits, a lot of holes to fill, and they're going to be looking to weaponize through the draft. Now, fan base and the media is assuming that means weapons. That means offensive weapons, touchdown machines, Steve. But it doesn't necessarily mean that a weapon is only a scoring threat. It could be a lineman that could be a weapon as well. Based on what the Patriots have done, folks, do you believe that their draft strategy has now changed? Are they still locked in to taking a quarterback at number 3, or might they consider moving down to maximize their draft capital? Steve and I are going to talk about that very subject in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Locked On listeners, what's the first thing you'd do if you had an extra hour in your day? Maybe go for a run or take a nap, read a book, or maybe spend some extra time with family and friends. A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time, but the question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. Therapy can also empower you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots, spending part of your Friday here with our resident voice of reason, who is back to lend his wisdom and counsel the way only he can. PatsFans.com's own Steve Balestrieri, my Patriots paisan. And Steve, in the previous segment, we talked a little bit about the moves that the Patriots have made. But we all know that now that wave, that initial exciting wave of free agency has passed, Patriots' eyes are going to be squarely focused on the draft. You see Elliott Wolf, you see Gerard Mayo and the Patriots Brain Trust visiting pro days, getting a good bird's eye view at some of the top prospects at the position. Friday, they were scouting the national champions in Michigan. Big eye on J.J. McCarthy. A lot of people are wondering whether or not, because of their free agency hits or misses, and because of the way the board continues to fluctuate at this time of year, whether or not the Patriots may be reconsidering their stance that we thought was pretty set in stone a couple of weeks ago. Stay pat, stand pat, pick a quarterback at number 3, and then fill the holes with the subsequent picks that you have remaining. Some experts are saying that the Patriots may actually be wise to trade down, and the Patriots, because of all the holes that they have on this roster, might be best served by maximizing that draft capital, turning that pick into 2 or maybe even 3 quality players that they can come away with. Steve, you see things us mere mortals don't see with a reasonable eye. That's why we call you our resident voice of reason. So I ask you, my friend, when you look at the Patriots' needs and you look at the holes that still remain on this roster, you also look at their draft months and draft class and the strengths of this draft class. Do you believe that free agency may have tipped the Patriots' hand or changed their philosophy when it comes to what they're going to do in the upcoming draft next month?
No, I don't think anything's changed the needle for them. Now, there's been all these rumors going around that people are going to try to, make them an offer they can't refuse to move off of number 3.
Mm-hmm.
If I am them, there's only one way that I would trade that. And that is if they have serious doubts that the guy that they believe is going to be there at number 3 for them, talking quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have confidence in.
Right.
And in other words, he can't be the guy in their mind. If that's the case, then they should trade back at number 3 and, stockpile as much draft capital as they can, because they do have holes to fill. That would be the only way I would be be in favor of that. Otherwise, I think they need to stay the course and take a quarterback at number 3. I'm hoping it's Drake Maye. I've been kind of favoring him since the fall, and I kept thinking he would be the perfect quarterback, up in New England for the Patriots. He's a big kid. He's got a cannon for an arm. Mm-hmm. And, I think he would be the ultimate cold weather quarterback. Kind of, I don't want to use him as a comparison because it's not fair to the kid, but kind of like a Josh Allen would be, for New England. and not saying they're comparable, folks, just saying he's that type of quarterback. He can make plays with his feet, but he can stay in the pocket and deliver. And he can throw it anywhere on the field. So that would be the guy I would want. But if it turns out that he's going to be there at 3 and they don't feel that way, then I think they should trade back and maybe take a quarterback later, and or stand pat at 3 and take a guy like Joe Alt, or everyone's other real favorite is Marvin Harrison. I know what Murph would say. Murph wants Alt at number 3.
Yep.
And there's something to be said for that, because you're putting, as you said earlier, a weapon on there, because this guy is going to be probably a top 10 left tackle in the league for a very long time.
You can never overvalue, in my opinion, a solid tackle or a solid offensive lineman around which you can build an offensive line. And generally, and this is no disrespect to the center or the guard, because the center, you can make the argument, is the most vital position in that line. But that building block, that cornerstone, is 9 times out of 10 a tackle. And because of the importance of protecting the quarterback's blind side, if you're on the left side and you got a right-handed quarterback, which is the most common combination there, your job is so vital to the success of that offense. So taking a left tackle in this draft, folks, would be maybe some would consider it the safe move. I would consider it the prudent move, probably the smartest move if you're the New England Patriots. But if you're looking to rebuild this team and you're looking to start here and start at the ground level, you have a major void at quarterback right now, Steve, without any question about it. I love Jacoby Brissett. I think he's going to come in here and be a great mentor. I think he can give you spot starts. I think if you're looking to get a quarterback in here to hold a tablet or a clipboard, or however you want to put it nowadays, if you want him to be the guy that's going to help that young quarterback emerge and maybe even start for him for a little while until he gets comfort being able to start in a pro level environment, I don't think you could have done a better job than bringing in Jacoby Brissett for that role. But here's the reason why I agree with you, and I believe that quarterback is still the way to go here. You don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to replicate the talent level in this class or your position right now in the 2024 NFL Draft. The New England Patriots could win a couple of games next year that people don't expect them to win. All of a sudden, that becomes a problem if you're trying to get a top 3 or a top 2 pick next year. You're right now at number 3, guaranteed to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. And most pundits would agree that all of these guys are pro ready in their own right. I'm starting to come around on Drake Maye as well. I was definitely someone that was pro Jaden Daniels, but I was always pro Drake Maye as well. And I would have been comfortable with either one of these guys. With a lot of the reports coming out that Washington is almost tipping their hand now, especially with the signing of Marcus Mariota, that Jaden Daniels may be their guy, it looks like Drake Maye could be there for the taking for the New England Patriots. And I'm going to read you a scouting report in just a moment to tell you how history kind of repeats itself a little bit. This particular quarterback was graded as someone that may be a little over aggressive at times, but definitely a fierce competitor with the capability to run, strong arm, able to make all the throws throughout any area in the field. They also like the fact that this quarterback would be coming into an unready-made situation, meaning a team that struggled mightily last year, a team that did not have the greatest season, basically saying they don't have an easy situation of being able to walk right in and play. That's actually a good thing. They finished this up with saying that this quarterback has the size, the arm, the athleticism, and the football IQ to turn heads and potentially be a game-changing quarterback at the position. Now, Steve, that is not a scouting report on Drake Maye, and the team they're talking about is not the Patriots. This is actually Ron Wolf, Elliot Wolf's father, talking about Brett Favre. Wolf had his eye on Favre, and obviously he was taken by the Falcons, and he got him later, but he was ready to try to rebuild a Packers team that had gone 4-12 the year before. He liked the skill set, and he liked what this guy could do at the time. And now bringing him full circle with Elliot Wolf now being Ron's son, kind of grading maybe Drake Maye in the same regard. It's eerie how those two scouting reports really do fit exactly what his father was looking at when he saw Brett Favre. And we've talked about this several times. The only knock on Drake right now, or the main knock on Drake right now, is that he seems to have too much of that gunslinger in him, too much of that willingness to always throw the ball downfield, try to make plays. Don't settle for the check down. That's not something Drake does. I think the right coaching can coach that out of him. And I think Alex Van Pelt may be the perfect guy to do it.
Absolutely. And, that's kind of reminds me of Josh Allen too. A lot of times Josh, when he's most successful, he'll take those checkdowns. He'll still air it out on occasion, but he doesn't do it as often. And sometimes, he gets a little too enamored with his arm. And I've heard that about Drake Maye. And, that's something that comes with coaching. And I thought Josh Allen was at his best when he had Brian Daboll. And I'm hoping if the Patriots do select Drake Maye, that, Alex Van Pelt can do that for him. And, they're going to have situations where, he can check it down. And I think, they should be able to do that. I do love the fact, though, that he could throw the ball 75 yards because sometimes you just need to do that just to keep the defense honest. They have to understand that you can hurl the ball that far and hit a target with it. So, I think that is eerie because that sounds a lot like Drake Maye, and it was Brett Favre. And I remember when he was coming out of Southern Miss and, he went to the Falcons and, once Green Bay got him, I was a little surprised that they were targeting him because he didn't play great in Atlanta, but how things changed when he got, Andy Reid as his quarterback coach.
Absolutely. That does have a lot to do with it. And the right coaching, the right situation in place, and the right front office to build a team around him. And that can make all the difference. That right now, I think, is the biggest concern for a lot of Patriots fans is, are we bringing in a quarterback that's a project that needs some work? And folks, as much as I like Drake Maye and as much as Steve does as well, I think we can all admit that he is a work in progress. He's someone that's going to need at least a year or more of development in order to really reach his full potential. But if he can clean up some of those poor decisions that he's made at the collegiate level with North Carolina and get the proper coaching to help him make those better decisions and trust the short passes a little bit more, trust the checkdowns, understand that par is good enough to win at times. You don't always have to go for the green every single shot. I think at this point, based on his physical skill set, based on what he's capable of doing, that can lead this team to the next level with the proper coaching and the proper team around him. Because again, that's the concern of Patriots fans right now. Are we setting up a quarterback who is a project to fail because he doesn't have the infrastructure around him to succeed? And Steve, that's going to lead us quite nicely into our wrap-up segment today here on Locked On Patriots, folks. What is the biggest remaining need for the Patriots? If, in fact, they agree with Steve and I that the Patriots are still staying at number 3 to draft their quarterback of the future, what does this team need to do to make sure that that quarterback or whoever is going to be taking snaps on opening day under center is going to be either well protected or well suited to be able to succeed? Folks, I'll give you a hint. It doesn't even mean that it's on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe it's beefing up the defense and making them even better so the offense doesn't have to score that many points to win. Steve and I are going to discuss that and more when we wrap up this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or on a number 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's number 1 sports book. Test your confidence with FanDuel because right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Pats fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots. And joining me to wrap up the week in style is my good friend and Patriots Paisan, PatsFans.com's own Steve Balestrieri. Steve, in the previous segments, we've talked about the Patriots' moves thus far. We've talked about their draft strategy, but now it's time to look forward. Week is over. It's time for a new week coming up. The Patriots are moving full on into draft mode if they haven't done so already. But there's still a lot of voids to be filled on this team, whether it be through free agency or whether it be through meticulous targeting in the draft. The Patriots have to fill these positions of need in order to field at least a competitive team in 2024. As you look at this team top to bottom, if in fact the Patriots decide that they're filling the most important position, and I say that arguably, folks, but let's face it, it's the most high profile position in the NFL, starting quarterback with the number 3 pick in the draft. What is the position of need the Patriots absolutely have to address in order to make that work?
I think it has to be the quarterback. It's the most important position, in the NFL. I think they have to find that guy. And part of the reason they haven't made a big splash with some of the wide receivers that signed elsewhere is because they don't have a situation that's solidified at quarterback right now. There's still a big question mark. And I think the best way to handle that, you're at the number 3 position. If you firmly believe that the guy that's there can lead your team, and be that difference maker, then you have to take a shot at it. The draft is an inexact science. Every year we see guys who are labeled can't miss and they flop. And then we see guys that aren't particularly, well thought of and they shine. Look no farther than 199, right? Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the 7th quarterback taken in the 2000 draft. So that tells you, it's an inexact science. But I think they have to swing for the fence at the quarterback position. And, after that, I think the 2 biggest remaining needs, whether it's, 2A or 2B, is wide receiver and left tackle. And they have other needs. They need a second cornerback. I think a boundary cornerback, because I do believe that Jonathan Jones is best if he's in the slot. And you have, Gonzalez coming back. Stephon Gilmore's out there. I know there's been some rumors about him returning. I think that would be a tremendous move for the Patriots in free agency, because I do believe that of the 3 needs that I just mentioned, they have to fill at least one of them still in free agency. And there's still some guys out there. They may not be flashy guys, or they might just have to overpay a veteran for a 1-year contract just to give them some leeway, in the development and the rebuild. And I think some of those guys are still out there. So if you have to fill the top 3 needs in the draft, you're really putting a lot of pressure on yourself. That's why, I thought, that story on Calvin Anderson was a little intriguing. I wouldn't hitch my wagon to that thought. But at the same time, if they just pick up a guy, say David Bakhtiari, he's getting long in the tooth. He's had injury concerns, but he would bring you, and when he's on the field, that instant stability on the left, So I think the 3 biggest needs are still quarterback, number 1, and either wide receiver, left tackle, or left tackle, wide receiver, however you want to word it. I think those are the 3 biggest ones, and they have to address at least one of them still in free agency. But, if they hit a home run in the draft and they fill all 3 of those, then your rebuild is going to be shortened somewhat. You're not over the hump, but you're well on your way to fixing all of the ills from last year, because the defense last year was really solid.
Yeah.
Other than for 2 games, they played well all year long. It was the offense, and those 3 biggest needs were on the offense.
Yeah, without any question. I completely agree with you. And look, you mentioned left tackle. Obviously, that is the white elephant in the room. That's probably the most glaring of the Patriots' needs other than at quarterback. And with Trent Brown now in Cincinnati, he's not walking through that door anymore. So you know you need to fill that. The question is for the Patriots, do they fill it with a capable veteran? Do they take a shot at a guy that's had injury concerns like a David Bakhtiari or even Mekhi Becton of the New York Jets that's still out there on the open market? These guys are extremely talented. Becton is someone that had such tremendous upside. Murph and I talked about him a few days ago, saying that when he was drafted by the Jets, it almost left a really poor taste in Patriots fans' mouths, thinking about the fact that he was going to be protecting the Jets quarterback blindside. But injury has just kept him from the field. If he can remain healthy, he has the chance to be a solid addition to any team, but he's still out there on the market right now because of all the injury concerns that he's had throughout his career. So do the Patriots decide they're going to invest number 34 in a left tackle? Someone like a Patrick Paul out of Houston, I think would be an amazing fit here based on his skill set, his size, and his ability to be pro level ready. If the Patriots decide they're going to weaponize the offense and they take a quarterback at number 3, you may want to invest that number 34 pick in a receiver and someone that's going to be a game changer. Because for as much talent as the Patriots have at the mid-level at the wide receiver position right now, they don't necessarily have that game changer on this roster yet. You hit the nail on the head earlier. I love Kendrick Bourne. I'm glad he's back in a Patriots uniform. I think KJ Osborne is going to have a chance to maybe turn some heads at times. I haven't given up on Tyquan Thornton. I know a lot of you have, but folks, he's coming in. He looks like he's bulked up a little bit. Give him a chance to win a job in training camp, and I think he may turn some heads as well. Juju Smith-Schuster right now a wild card. No one knows for sure whether or not last year was just an anomaly and he can be a solid weapon, or if this is a bad fit here in New England. Those will work itself out. But those to me are the 2 positions right now that the Patriots really need to make sure that a young quarterback coming in has the infrastructure around him, or even if it's Brissett to start the season, Steve, you want to make sure that these guys are well protected and well weaponized. But I do like the move that you talked about with cornerback, because I think if the Patriots do go free agency, I think that's where they're going. And Gilmore is a possibility. I wrote about that earlier this week for Sports Illustrated. Also reports out there, folks, that J.C. Jackson could still be on the radar of this team once he's able to, correct whatever issues he's going through right now. And we wish J.C. nothing but the best in those endeavors. If he's able to get himself back on track, he could be an option for the Patriots. And pairing him alongside someone like a Christian Gonzalez could be a great 1-2 punch. That lockdown corner in Christian and then that ball hawking corner in JC, Mr. INT coming back strong, that could look good. And I'd love to see Stephon back here in New England as well. So a lot still to be determined for the Patriots, folks. Steve, what can I say? It's always an honor and a privilege to share the microphone with you here on Locked On Patriots. Thank you for taking time out of your day to help us close the week in style here on Locked On. Before I let you go, my friend, please let everyone know where they can interact with you and what you've got coming down the pike from the great pen, the great voice of Steve Balestrieri.
You can find me on patsfans.com. I've been writing for them. It'll be 12 years come training camp this year. And Derek Havens and I have been doing the podcast for 12 years come this July. So it's fun because Derek and I finish each other's sentences. We've been doing it so long. You can find me on Twitter at StevieS7SFG. This week we're looking at the draft. Now, last week there was a lot of rumors about Minnesota giving up 11 and 23 for New England, and I did a mock draft saying, well, if they did take the deal, this is how it might look. This week I'm just going to have them standing pat, no drafts, no trades, pardon me, and just draft in the order that they have right now, and we'll see where the chips fall. But I will tell you this, one receiver to keep your eye on and I've heard it from more than one person now, is Xavier Legette from South
Mm,
Carolina. I don't know where he's going to fall. A lot of people have him going in the first round.
mm.
So that might limit the Patriots' exposure to him. But for any reason, if he's around in that second or late first round, look for the Patriots to make a move on this guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a popular name. You see bandied around a lot throughout social media, and for good reason, folks. Matt, I share your enthusiasm on him, and we'll see if the Patriots do as well, because they need weapons. And folks, this kid could be a weapon. He could be a diamond in the rough. Maybe not the rough, because there's a lot of light on him, but
Yeah.
again, someone that may not be talked about in either the first two or three options at the position in this draft class, but really I think deserves a second, third, and fourth look from the Patriots if they find themselves at number 34 and he's there. Might even be willing to trade up for someone like him. That's how good he is and how much headway he's making on some of these draft boards. So, Steve, excellent information, excellent insight. We always appreciate you lending your wisdom, your counsel, and your reason the way only you can. And of course, congratulations on the 12 years, my friend. Di salud, Don Balestrieri. And folks, on that level, we thank you all for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots, for joining us throughout the week and making us a part of your daily New England Patriots coverage. On behalf of my good friend, my Patriots paisan, Steve Balestrieri, I'm Mike Debate, reminding you all to stay safe and to stay well and to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again on Mock Draft Monday, Locked On Murph Monday, with all of your great mock drafts right here on the Locked On Patriots podcast.